Hello, grade 8s, and happy greetings to each and every one of you. Welcome to WorksheetCloud Natural Sciences lesson. If you have any questions during the lesson, please email me on grade8@worksheetcloud.com and hopefully I can get back to you as soon as possible with some answers. So I know under normal circumstances, you'd be in your natural sciences classroom or lab with your amazing teacher, surrounded by all of your friends. So I am so glad that you have joined me today, and I hope you have a wonderful time of online learning. I am really excited for the lesson today. So I am Mrs. Ernston's WorksheetCloud Grade 8 Natural Sciences teacher. I'd like you to be prepared for the lesson, so make sure that you have your pen and paper and any books and files and notes all ready. And remember to take notes as we discuss things in our online class. The topic of today's lesson is going to be pure substances and mixtures. The topics we're going to cover are: when is a substance pure? How is a compound different from an element? How is a molecule different from an atom? What holds molecules together? What happens to atoms and molecules during a chemical reaction? And how is a mixture of elements different from a compound? So there are a few extra items that you will need for today's lesson. So I'm happy for you to pause the screen now, and I'll wait for you to get back with all your goodies. So search around the house for things like coins, bottle top lids, some Lego, some beads, maybe you've got some sweets, some buttons, some Play-Doh, anything that's either different colors or it's got different shapes. Okay, welcome back. So I know you're ready with all your goodies. I'd like to start off with a brainstorm, and I think this is important because I need you to link with what you already know from grade 7 matter and materials with any new ideas that you are going to learn today. So you're welcome to shout the answers out, not that I'm going to hear you, or you can press the pause button and you can write everything down and I'll wait up for you to catch up. So please write down or talk out loud everything that you can remember about pure substances and mixtures. So pure substances, all matter can be classified as mixtures of substances or pure substance. And a pure substance can be further classified as an element or a compound. So in a pure substance, all the atoms here are exactly the same. These are atoms, or they can be seen as elements. And in this container here, we have a compound, which is made up of different types of atoms. And if we have a look at this container here, this is a mixture, and this is a mixture because it is made up of atoms and compounds. And this container here is made up of one type of compound here and one type of compound there. I'll clarify your understanding of elements and compounds and things as we progress through the lesson. So, what is an atom? Atoms are the smallest building blocks of matter. It is the smallest particle of a chemical element that can exist on its own. And an atom has the same chemical properties of an element. So this diagram here, we refer to these pink circles as atoms, and it is also known as an element. So an element consists of atoms that are all of the same kind. I just want to clarify your understanding of what is an element. So if you need to pause the video and answer these 6 questions, you can. I will wait for you. Do you think the substance represented in this diagram is an element? Let us answer the following questions together. Write down what you see in this picture. Now, I know we're all going to use different terminology and different words and things like that. So I'm going to tell you very basically what I see. So I see blue circles. I see that in this diagram here, the circles are only blue. They're no other color. I see that the circles are all the same size. And then I also notice the two circles look like they are joined together. Question 2. Do you think it is a mixture of substances or a pure substance? And why do you think so? So, I think it is a pure substance because all the circles here are blue, which means they are all the same type of substance. Question 3. Are the atoms all the same kind? Yes, they are. They are all blue. What class of substances is made up of only one kind of atom? It's elements. Is the substance an element? Yes. Why? We will answer this in the following slide. And can elements be made up of molecules? Yes. And you'll hear about this later on in the lesson. So what is an element? An element is a pure substance. An element consists of only one kind of atom. This means that an element cannot be changed into other elements by physical or chemical processes. Elements can be made up of individual atoms, or they can be bonded pairs of atoms that we call diatomic molecules. Again, more of this later. So in this diagram here, we can see that this element here consists of only one kind of atom, and it exists on its own. In this diagram here, we see that the atoms are bonded together in pairs, so this is known as a diatomic molecule. This leads us into what is a molecule. So a molecule is two or more atoms that have chemically bonded with each other. So if we have a look at this diagram here, here are two atoms that are chemically bonded. This diagram over here, from the previous slide, two atoms that are chemically bonded. This diagram here, here are two white atoms chemically bonded. Here are two red atoms chemically bonded. Here we have three atoms bonded together, one red and two white. If we move to this diagram over here, here we have a compound with three atoms bonded together, purple, green, and orange. And here we have another compound where this molecule is made up of three atoms. So they can be atoms from the same or different elements. You can have a molecule of an element, or you can have a molecule of a compound. So here is a molecule of an element. Here is a molecule of an element. Here is a molecule of an element. Here is a molecule of a compound, a molecule of a compound, a molecule of a compound, and a molecule of a compound. Please do just remember that not all elements are molecules. So what is a diatomic molecule? Di refers to the number 2 and atomic refers to atoms. So two atom molecule, or one molecule that is made up of two atoms. This picture of the element that we discussed earlier shows what diatomic molecules look like. So here we have one molecule with two atoms, one molecule with two atoms, one molecule with two atoms. Here is a diatomic oxygen molecule, one molecule with two atoms. Here is diatomic nitrogen, one molecule with two atoms. So oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, and some other elements from non-metals, which we find on the right side of the periodic table, all form diatomic molecules. We can remember the names of the diatomic molecules with this wonderful little rhyme here. Have no fear of ice cold beer. So H stands for hydrogen, N nitrogen, F fluorine, O oxygen, I iodine, C chlorine, and B bromine. And if I just show you where we find these elements on the periodic table, here is hydrogen, here is nitrogen, here is fluorine, that's oxygen, iodine, chlorine, and bromine. So what is a compound? Compounds are formed when two or more different elements have combined, or compounds are formed when two or more different atoms have combined. The atoms are chemically bonded in the same fixed ratio. Compounds can be formed and broken down in chemical reactions. So here we have a compound made up of two different elements, a pink element and a green element, but this compound has three atoms, 1, 2, 3. Here we have one molecule of a compound, but the compound is made up of two atoms, a yellow atom and a blue atom. Here we have a molecule of another compound that is made up of three different atoms and three different elements. Let's just take the compound water as an example, which you might know is represented as H2O. Scientists know that a water molecule is made up of one oxygen atom, here, one oxygen atom, and two hydrogen atoms. Two hydrogen atoms. The oxygen atom is represented by the red circle. The hydrogen atoms are represented by the two white circles. All water molecules are exactly the same. The atoms are bonded in this fixed ratio of one oxygen to two hydrogen. The atoms in a molecule are held together by a special force that we call a chemical bond. And you'll do more of this if you take chemistry to grade 10. So, how is a compound different to an element? So, if we have a look at an element is a material that is made up of atoms of only one kind. So, in this container here, we only have one type of atom. Compound is made up of two or more different atoms, or two or more different elements that have chemically combined. And the atoms are chemically bonded in the same fixed ratio. So here we have a compound. It is made up of three atoms, 1, 2, 3, but it is only two different elements, a pink element and a green element. So what is a mixture? Mixtures are combinations of two or more elements and or compounds. The components in a mixture can be separated by physical separation methods such as sieving, filtration, evaporation, distillation, and chromatography. And this lesson is going to be covered later on in grade 8 matter and materials, and some of you might have touched on it in grade 7. So here we have a mixture. In this container, we have some atoms or some elements. Here we have a pink atom, pink element, and we also have a compound. And we have a compound that is made up of three different atoms. In this container here, we have two different types of compounds. Here is one compound made up of a yellow and a blue atom, and here is another compound made up of a purple, green, and orange atom. So, how is a mixture different to a compound? So let's start off with a compound. A compound is made up of two or more different elements that have combined, or it's made up of two or more different atoms that have combined, and the atoms are chemically bonded in a fixed ratio. How does this compare with a mixture? Well, mixtures are combinations of two or more elements and or compounds, and they are not chemically combined at all. So this atom or element here is not chemically combined to this compound here. And generally we can separate these substances in this mixture. Here we can't separate any of this. It's all the same type of substance. So just a quick revision. Is this an atom or a molecule? It's an atom. Is this an atom or a molecule or a compound? It is a molecule because it is made up of two atoms. One blue atom here, and here's another blue atom. Is this an atom or a molecule? So it's made up of 1, 2, 3 atoms, which means it's a molecule. Is this an atom or a molecule? It is a molecule because it's made up of 1, 2, 3 atoms, but it's made up of 2 different elements, a green element and 2 red elements. Is this an atom or a molecule? It is an atom. Is this an atom or a molecule? So if you have a look here, all these circles are all combined with each other. And if we count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gray circles. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 white circles, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red circles. So it is a molecule. How many atoms make up this molecule? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. How many different types of atoms make up this molecule? 3 different types. We've got a small white atom, a red atom, and a gray atom. And what holds the atoms together in this molecule? Chemical bonds. Here is a nice little summary. You will also find the summary under our WorksheetCloud worksheets. And this is just a basic outline. You can always print this out and add extra information, and it will form a nice revision task for you when you study for exams. So here's when we get to the fun activity. I want you to take whatever you found around the house, and I want you to make your own models that are going to show your understanding of atoms, elements, compounds, molecules of elements, molecules of compounds, and mixtures. And then why don't you keep the model, or why don't you take photographs of the model, and when you can get back to school, you can share this with your friends, or you can share it with your teacher, and when you explain it back to your teacher and friends, you will remember it that much better. So this is the activity that I did in class with my pupils, and if we just go through a quick revision, this can be seen as an atom, okay, and it can be seen as an element. Here we've got 2 atoms that have chemically combined together, so this can be seen as a diatomic molecule, can also be seen as an element. This can be seen, if we have a look at C, it's these 2 things together over here, so this can be seen as a mixture made up of 2 compounds. So here is 2 atoms of 1 element, and here is a compound that's got made up of 2 blue atoms and a brown atom. If we have a look at this structure here, this is a compound. 4 brown atoms have chemically combined to 1 blue atom, and this forms 1 molecule. Here we also have 1 molecule, it's a molecule of a compound. 2 blue atoms have chemically combined to 1 brown atom, and here again 2 atoms have chemically combined together, so this is 1 molecule. It's also 1 element, and it's also known as a diatomic molecule. So I hope you have fun with your models and making all your models, and remember to share everything that you learned when you're with your teacher when you get back to school. This activity is also available on our WorksheetCloud activities. So just as a recap, if you would like to pause the screen and see if you can match blocks A, B, C, and D, A, B, C, and D with these terms and definitions. Okay, so if we have a look here, an atom, which diagram best represents the atom? And I think that would be diagram C. What best represents an element? Well, an element would be diagram C, and it would be diagram D, because C only contains one type of atom, and D also only contains one type of atom. The interesting thing to remember with D is these atoms have chemically combined together. So this is also a molecule, but all the atoms in this diagram are made up of the same substance. If we have a look here at a compound needs to be two or more different atoms, and this would be best represented by A. So here we have a compound. It's made up of 1, 2, 3, 4 atoms. One atom is blue, which comes from one element, and the other 3 atoms are white, which comes from another element. And then lastly, if we have a look at box B, that's going to be a mixture, but it's a mixture of 2 different elements. And both of these elements here actually exist as diatomic molecules. This activity here you'll also find on our WorksheetCloud worksheets. Each of the 6 blocks labeled A to F contain matter. You must answer the following questions using the diagrams and the blocks A, B, C, D, E, F. So I'll give you a moment. You can pause the screen and let's get your answers down to this activity. Okay, so question 1. Which blocks represent the particles of an element? And this is best represented with C. Which blocks represent the particles of a compound? Now remember, a compound has to have 2 or more atoms chemically combined together. So that will be B. There is a compound. There's 2 or more atoms chemically combined together. And it is the only compound that I find in this container. D. Here are 2 atoms chemically combined together. And these 2 atoms form a molecule, and all the other molecules in this container are exactly the same. And then E, here we have 3 atoms that have chemically combined together, but this whole container is only made up of the same type of molecule. Which block represents particles of a mixture? That's going to be A and F. So in A is a mixture of an element and a compound, and F is a mixture of 2 compounds. There's one compound and there is another compound. So hopefully you got all those questions right and you have a better understanding of the difference between atoms, elements, compounds, and mixtures. This is another activity that you'll find on WorksheetCloud. Again, you'll need to pause the screen while you answer these 15 questions. You must classify the matter in each block using only the letters A to E to identify the categories. So A is element, B is compound, C is a mixture of elements, D is a mixture of compounds, and E is a mixture of elements and compounds. So here you're going to write either A, B, C, or D. So I'll give you a moment to get your answers down. And now let's mark your work. And hopefully you got 15 out of 15. So well done to you. So just to recap, the topic of our lesson was pure substances and mixtures. So hopefully now you know what does it mean when we say that a substance is pure. You are able to explain how a compound is different from an element. You're able to explain how a molecule is different from an atom. You understand what holds molecules together. You know what happens to atoms and molecules during a chemical reaction. And you know how a mixture of elements is different from a compound. So well done. I'm very impressed with how you paid attention during today's lesson. So to conclude, I would like you to write down 3 facts about pure substances and mixtures from today's lesson. I would like you to write down 2 new things that you learned today. And I would like you to write down 1 question that you have. If you need to pause the screen, it's absolutely fine. I'm happy to wait for you. And then remember that you can email your questions to me at grade8@worksheetcloud.com. I am so proud of how you engaged in the lesson today. You were passionate, you were enthusiastic, so thank you very, very much. And well done for taking responsibility for your learning. I am really, really proud of you. And I'm sure your parents are too. So grade 8, thanks for watching. This lesson was brought to you by WorksheetCloud.